Hello, the Big D is talking 80th anniversary of D-Day and all the NFL big deals on the Spunky Swift and Sports YouTube page and the Driving to the Top Productions. Before I tell you please about all the news happening today, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Swift and Sports and Driving to the Top production pages. We greatly appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. Also, I am the Big D, so you can check me out, Big D Podcast, Spotify, and Apple. So obviously, there are some days, especially if you're a World War II historian or a geek like me, we remember what happened. I mean, December 7th, 1941, on VE Day, May 8th, 1945, VJ Day, August 14th, 1945. But D-Day, June 6th, 1944, is the day that sticks down in many Americans because that's when you could argue the war ended and maybe not ended but changed in Europe because that's when the Western Allies landed on the beaches of Normandy, France. And it's a mission that the brave men who took on that assignment that day. I mean, I'm glad we have soldiers still that celebrating the 80th anniversary of D-Day today because I mean, how many of these guys will be left? I mean, there might not be anybody left at the 90th anniversary in a decade, but by June of 1944, the war was changing. The Soviets were pushing the Germans back toward Berlin. The American and British forces were getting close. In fact, I think by this point had already taken Rome. But there was no push through France, and realistically, the Western Allies needed to do something, because in many ways, a lot of especially the British, had not stepped foot in France since evacuating Dunkirk in 1940. So, and this mission was, you could argue, the biggest mission of the war because D-Day was actually supposed to take place on June 5th, but because of appalling weather conditions, it ended up taking place on June 6th, and there were 5 beaches involved. The Americans landed in Utah and Omaha, British and Canadians landed Sword, Juno, and Gold beaches. And it's unique how history changes because you see all the videos of see all the World War II movies, you see the Dunkirk movie, you see the Pearl Harbor movie, see these D-Day movies, but seeing all these videos of men coming ashore, whether it be Omaha, Utah, Gold, Sword, Juno, and it wasn't just landing on the beaches. There were missions where the British and Americans special landing troops behind the German lines. And in fact, one of the bridges on Normandy ended up being named Pegasus Bridge. But you think back to D-Day and all the brave men who didn't even have a chance to fight, especially on Omaha Beach, because Omaha Beach was arguably the scene of the greatest casualty rate. Like, there were few ways to even get there. The American amphibians vehicles really didn't have a chance. get up, and the Germans were probably in the best position to ward off an attack there. But for the brave men who gave their life, you are the heroes. And then, how about the ones who kept fighting from the beaches of Normandy to Germany? I mean, whether it be the Battle of the Bulge, all those battles, 44, 45, getting across the Rhine. But we wonder what would have happened if that mission had taken place today. I mean, you could argue that generation, especially the World War II generation, the greatest generation ever lived, because not only did they defeat Hitler, but it probably but it probably kept the whole western side of Europe somewhat sane, right? In fact, I think the Allies may have caught the Germans napping because a couple of the German leaders weren't even in Normandy when the invasion took place. I mean, I think the Germans thought the invasion would have taken place at the Pas de Calais because it was short, it was easier to reach Calais, and more importantly, reach Germany. But guess what happens when you get easy? The other guys know it's easy to cross. So the Allies ended up going to Normandy because the Allies knew it was going to be different. It would have been easier if the Allies would have. It would have been easier to defend the Allies in Calais compared to Normandy. Now, who knows what would have happened if not for some of the great deception plans, whether it be having fictitious army units under Patton, or whether it be these this information spread from Great Britain back to Germany. Maybe the Nazis would have said, you know what, there's a chance the Allies were going to land in Normandy instead of Calais. And they were, I mean, for how bad D-Day, for how bloody D-Day was, you could argue in many ways it was the first step in liberating Western Europe, because by later that summer, most, if not all, of France was liberated, and within a year, the war in Western Europe was over. Now, of course, the war in Japan kept going for another 3 months, but still, the fact we went in 11 months, we went from invasion to signing surrender documents is something. And you could argue maybe if not for some bad weather in December of '44, maybe the time would have been shorter to cross Germany. I mean, but we will never forget the men, the troops who came across those beaches, because those guys are some of not the greatest American troops who ever lived. You could argue troops who defended this country in the 17th, in the War for Independence, and the World War II troops, arguably the greatest troops who ever fought here in this country. Sure, and also the D-Day was made for General Dwight Eisenhower, who ended up becoming president after the war. Well, the mission was known as Operation Oval. Oval. With thousands, not just of troops, but Americans killed, wounded, but it ended up establishing beach. In fact, for a while, Omaha looked like it would have looked like would be problems even establishing getting out of Omaha. In fact, huh. Omaha, I think there were like over 100,000 men. Yeah, you got thousands of men came across the English Channel that day. But Omaha ended up seeing the highest casualty rate. Along the branch. It's funny how some of these people come up with names for the beaches, but names of beaches like other people come up with Omaha, Utah, Juneau, Salt, Gold beaches, but we will never forget the men who served on this day 80 years ago, and thankfully they were all still soldiers, still living with us. So thank you guys for your service. And now, back to my take on all these NFL deals. Usually like mini camp, training camp can be all times where you see deals happen, but we're seeing record deals happen. I mean, a couple of days ago, Justin Jefferson and the Vikings agreed to a 4-year, $140 million contract with 110 guaranteed. Breaks all the receiving records and breaks the non-quarterback salary record. And for Minnesota, it's a deal that's got to get done. Because if you're J.J. McCarthy, you're Kevin O'Connor, you can't have Justin Jefferson missing minicamp, training camp. Because this guy's arguably the best wide receiver in football. He set records for most receiving yards in his first 4 years. And if you're the Vikings, whether J.J. McCarthy starts early in the year or later in the year, knowing that Jefferson is there for the next few years means you've got your number one receiver for the prime of his career. And yes, a wide receiver is getting paid too much, you could argue. But J.J. McCarthy's on a rookie contract, so the Minnesota Vikings have the money to give JJ a record deal. Plus, makes sense. Yes, it might not make sense if you have Pat Mahomes getting $50 million a year to pay Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill that much money. But in many ways, having JJ, it makes sense for a quarterback not making anything. That's why the Houston Texans made the Steph Diggs move, because CJ Stroud's on a rookie contract. And then look at a couple other deals. I mean, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, A.J. Brown have got a new deal. Seems like the Eagles have signed everybody, but Amon-Ra's got a new deal with the Detroit Lions. But before I talk about some of the wide receivers who haven't gotten a deal, how about Christian McCaffrey? Getting a 2-year, $38 million contract. I think, 24, 25 guaranteed. And it's amazing what Christian McCaffrey's done for that Kyle Shanahan offense, because I mean, before, as in McCaffrey's last few full season with Carolina, it looked like McCaffrey was done. It looked like he couldn't stay healthy, and now all of a sudden, he's playing every game. The only game McCaffrey didn't play was the meaningless Week 18 against the Rams last year, but still, CMC led the NFL in touches last year. So, I mean, this guy can do everything. Run the ball, catch the ball. He might even throw a touchdown or two. But you wonder how McCaffrey will be because he's in that age, not quite 30, but with his workload, you wonder if Christian McCaffrey's due for some injury regression. I mean, he's carried the ball a ton last year, so you wonder if he'd be able to stay healthy. And B, the 49ers play that physical style. So how healthy can Christian McCaffrey be? Because if Christian McCaffrey's not healthy, that San Francisco offense is not the same. He is the star who stirs the drink in Santa Clara. And I mean, since we're talking 49ers, how about Deebo Samuel and old Brandon Ayuk potentially getting new deals? I mean, I don't know if Sam's keep both of them beyond this year. This might be a situation where the Niners pick one. I mean, they did. I mean, Niners drafted Ricky Pearsall last year. I mean, this past April, excuse me. But is there an opportunity that the Niners just trade one of them? Trade both of them? Probably not, but I think one of them, even if they're in contention. So this year, so there's a chance San Francisco could trade one of those guys. I mean, it seems like Brandon Ayuk particularly wants Amon-Ra St. Brown money. I don't know if he's Amon-Ra, but I think Ayuk's top 8 to 10 receiver in the game. And Deebo does so many things for the Niner offense, but he can't stay healthy. And so a couple other receivers looking for new deals. Dallas Cowboys CeeDee Lamb. Cincinnati Bengals duo of Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. I'll talk about CeeDee Lamb first because it seems like the Cowboys don't want to give anybody new deals. Now, maybe the Cowboys will see what happens with Dak. I'll talk about him more with the quarterbacks, but I think the Cowboys have to sign CeeDee Lamb because CeeDee Lamb's great. And you've got to sign, and if you have a great player, you keep him. The Cowboys draft and develop him despite having a couple other good receivers, and CeeDee Lamb's proven to be a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Probably top 3. But you don't want to disgruntled wide receiver because we know wide receivers are divas. You can't have a wide receiver unhappy and PO'd about his contract situation. I think the Cowboys have to give CeeDee Lamb a deal. I mean, no state income tax. So, I mean, if Justin Jefferson got the 34 mil, 35 mil, and 110 million guaranteed, well, that's the framework of a new deal. Maybe you put like $1 extra for Lamb. But I think the Cowboys have to give CeeDee Lamb a new deal. Ja'Marr Chase, I mean, the Bengals historically been cheap. I mean, they gave Burrow a contract, but the Bengals are going to be in the same spot as San Francisco. Is there a chance that the Bengals keep all 3 of Burrow, Chase, and Higgins? Probably not. I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to get a new deal, but I don't think T. Higgins will get a long-term deal. Maybe he'll get like a 1-year deal and keep on the franchise tag this year. But then after that, the Bengals might have to say au revoir to him. And then you wonder, does Tyreek Hill get a new deal? Which wide receivers get a new deal? And then quarterbacks. Let's talk about Dak. Because he's not just quarterback on America's team, but Dak Prescott's going to be potentially the highest paid. But to me, I would wait and see how this season goes for Dak. I don't think Dak's a top 15 quarterback in the game. I think Dak's okay, decent, put up a lot of stats, but Dak needs a lot of things going his way. Good offensive line, offensive mind head coach, capable running back, and reliable weapons. The Cowboys let a Hall of Fame left tackle go, Tony Pollard to Tennessee. Haven't really done much in the wide receiver. Well, and C. Lamb's not gotten his money, so. And Dak's coming off a really good year, but we've seen his last three playoff games end in frustration and embarrassment. He's lost three playoff games to Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and Jordan Love. And Dak hasn't played well in any of those games. And yeah, you think, well, he beat Tom Brady in that wildcard game. Listen, Tom Brady's, 95 years old? I don't think Tom Brady. And the Bucs' offense was putrid. This is a big year for Dak because I don't think I would give Dak Prescott 55, 60 million. I would not give him a Jared Goff contract because Jared Goff's a better quarterback. Goff's been to a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott can't even win a playoff game against Brock Purdy or Jordan Love. I mean, give me a break. But to me, if Dak plays well, maybe he gets a new deal, but there's a chance he could leave. There's a chance Cowboys give Dak a new deal. We'll see, because with Dak, C. Lamb, and Michael Parsons all looking for big deals. Interesting. And then, of course, Tua and Trevor Lawrence. I think the Dolphins should not give Tua a big deal, but I think he'll end up getting a deal. And then for my Jags, I hope we give Trevor Lawrence a new deal because I don't want that distraction on whether or not Trevor would get a deal, but I'd rather be early than late. So thanks for tuning in as I talk about the 80th anniversary of D-Day and some big deals that have happened or could be on the horizon. This is the Big D signing off for now.